Experience. Hello, everybody. I am back. When you hop on, say hi. This was a double header today, y'all. We're going to talk about monetizing our brand, creating wealth from, I guess you say, iconic images, I guess. You guys know I ain't nobody's brand specialist at all. I didn't even know I had to get some copyrights, but Miss Elise got me together. So I'm not going to be in the streets being illegal anymore. Hey. So we got another attorney in the building, right? Attorneys seem to be my friends, huh? Friends. Hey, Chastity. And she is going to teach us about monetizing our brand. I had no idea you can make money out of this. And so I ain't gonna say no more. Hey, Miss Brenda, I ain't gonna say no more. I'm just gonna bring Miss Jess on and let her talk to you guys, tell you guys who she is and what she does. Good afternoon, Miss Jessica. How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you? Happy Monday. Happy second week. I've been telling everybody, like, hey, it's only 2 weeks, y'all. You only 2 weeks in.
Man, we working over here. We was working. I've been triple booked and double booked today for the second Monday in a row. I'm thankful. To God be the glory.
Yes. That sounds like
the funds are coming, so I'm so thankful for that. But today has definitely been crazy. So tell the people who you are, because this is so awesome, monetizing your brand. I love it. Tell the people who you are, what you do, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Jessica Bull. I am a business and trademark attorney. I manage a firm called J Bull Consulting Firm LLC. We cater to small business and creatives to help them and grow their business. We are all about monetizing that which you own, growing it, and protecting your brand and business for long-term growth. We do contracts, trademarks, copyright, estate planning, LLC formation, and of course, providing general counsel to businesses as they go and move forward. So that's my baby. And you can always check us out at J-Bull Consulting across most platforms. I think I'm pretty active. Me and my team are pretty active. So you can always connect with us, and we have lots of content and things you can check out.
Y'all need to follow Miss Jess on Clubhouse. Listen, she is a beast on the Clubhouse. She be giving all the tea. That is where I heard this topic at. I had never, you guys know I'm not big on marketing. I'm really just starting at, yes, I made the 6 figures and all that other stuff, but I'm just really learning that marketing is a real thing, because most people do that accountant and they just who's your accountant type stuff, and it's normally referral basis, right, for me. And so a branding thing, what's that, right? That's how it was for me. And when I heard you talk about monetizing your brand, because I'm all about legacy creation and wealth building, right? We play the long-term game over here.
Right.
Money don't last, right. So we builders over here. And when I heard you talk about that, I was like, wait, oh yeah, Disney does sell their licensing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like I had never heard of it or ever thought about it like that. So help the people, because making money off your brand, that I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Right. So what Nidra is talking about, guys, is I do intellectual property. So intellectual property is basically anything that you can think of between your mind. And so a lot of times when it comes to businesses, your intellectual property is going to be like your logo, your slogan, those are common intellectual properties. But if you're like an artist, your intellectual property would be like a song or your writing or music. And so part of intellectual property oftentimes is a lot of business owners, like, because I'm talking to my business owners here, right? Right. Creatives are business owners too, but I think they like to be identified as creatives first. But honestly, if you're a creative, you're a business too. So I'm talking to all y'all. So the thing about oftentimes that I find in the IP practice is that most people go forward and they're like, I need to get a trademark because I want to stop other people from stealing my brand, right? Valid reason to get a trademark. You should definitely get one because it will protect your brand. However, honestly, that is the first step to monetizing your brand, and you're leaving money on the table if you don't think further about it. So for example, in the space of growing your business, right? You can monetize that which you have created. If you are a course creator, this is a perfect example. And this is something I'm working on and creating actually a program to help course creators monetize their licensing and things of that nature. So if you're a course creator, say you create a course and it does very, very well. For example, maybe you're a funnel creator. You created a course about funnels. Well, your course about funnels will probably go really well with a course about Facebook ads or a course about a business, right? Maybe I have an accelerator where I teach businesses how to build their business. What an amazing opportunity you could have was you could approach a business and say, hey, I have this amazing course that not only has it shown it's proven, I've made this much money off of it, I have this many testimonials, et cetera, et cetera. I can license this to you. License means to give permission to. I can license this to you for this amount of time, et cetera, et cetera. And this is a way to make money, right? To make money off your intellectual property without having to work so hard. So at the end of the day, right, the big companies, they utilize other brands and other businesses to grow. I love using Coca-Cola. I think they have done a fantastic job. Like Disney has done, child, Disney's like out of here. Yeah. They're at it. But Coca-Cola has done a great job too. If you think about it, right, why does Coca-Cola need blankets? They're a drink company. They're licensing that image. Why do they need little outfits and stuff? They're licensing that. Anytime you're seeing them in all of these different avenues, they're licensing. So not only are they getting free advertisement, right? People are paying to be a part of their licensing program because you can create a licensing program so people can opt in and be a part of that brand. And you're building your brand to be reputable. We saw Homeboy, okay, the president, build his whole brand off of licensing.
Yeah.
He didn't own those buildings, but his name carried weight, right? And so you said what?
You teaching. Tori, I learned so much. You teaching.
Right.
The Trump Towers. The Trump
Towers. Yeah. It's all licensing. It's all, and so it's with this growth, right, that we're moving towards. Right. This is an untapped resource. Everyone knows that you can buy property, right? You can flip houses, but this is a different type of property because number one, trademarks don't expire, right? As long as they're utilized and they're being used in association with the brand, they don't expire. Number two, it's a guaranteed legacy. Think about all of the creatives, the musicians. We see this in musicians all the time, right? They leave. That music don't die. That music becomes more valuable, right? It becomes more valuable. The problem is there's no planning to go along with the brand. So there's no long-term planning. Like we plan for the house, we plan for the cash, but really, right, the millions is right here between whatever you got in your head, whatever you've created, because that can't expire. Like a house can fall, a land become bad. Intellectual property, she ain't going nowhere.
Wow. So she's talking about y'all succession plan. Remember, I tell you, we legacy builders. And so, this is part of your financial planning. This is part of your exit strategy.
Absolutely.
All of this is legacy wealth. It's the long-term game. Like when I heard her talking about it, I had never even who'd have thought? And she mentioned collaboration, right? So you see Coca-Cola hats and you see in other stores, that's collaboration. And so you build, right? And you say, let's work together. And literally, I never thought about, you see the license by Disney or licensed by all the time. It never dawns on you. And it never clicked until you said something about it. I was like, man, it's more to marketing than you think. That's what I hear people say. That's that sleep money or whatever. I never even heard about that. So, how does stuff like that work? Do we build? As we build, we start talking to people about it, or is it that we trademark and license that way? Is license separate from trademark? Or how does that work?
Okay, so let's kind of start to unpack it really slowly, right? So you want to be strategic. The first thing I say in any time of licensing, right, which is, again, to give permission or to allow another to use with your permission, is you have to establish your ownership, right? And the best and the fastest way to do that is by either filing a trademark, copyright, or if a patent is applicable because you have an invention, filing a patent. We see patents get used all the time for licensing purposes. If you look at your Apple phone, they have a license for this technology. Okay, that's what they're fighting over. They're fighting over those patents because I own this patent for this, but I need this to use my phone, so I'm paying you billions of dollars to get this license to be able to use it on my phone. Okay, so licensing has to start with ownership, and the best and greatest way to have ownership is to register with the USPTO, the Copyright Office, and for patents. Now, I do want to say something in regards to copyrights. I hear this a lot. People are like, well, I own it as soon as I create it. You are absolutely correct. You were so correct. When you create something, you automatically own it. However, if you want to have actual legal ramifications, legal steps that you can take, if you're working with the big boys, you want to make sure you have what I call receipts. Because if you don't register your copyright, then what you're going to be doing is trying to prove that you created it. And you know what? You don't have to prove when you file. You don't have to prove nothing, because guess what? I got these receipts. And so anytime, if you ever watch Shark Tank, what do they say? Do you have a patent? Do you a trademark? Do you have a copyright? Because even if you are trying to move into this sphere, you have to prove that you own it. Because anyone who wants to invest, what you don't want to happen is for someone to come out of the woodworks because you create this amazing licensing program for your product, and the person who created your logo is like, go ahead and run me my money. Because everybody's real nice until the money starts flowing. So you don't even want those issues. You don't even want those problems. You want to have everything tight before you even begin. So that's the first step, right? And if you don't know how to go about doing that, then you should contact an IP attorney. And that's just point blank period. You should contact an IP attorney. This is not something that you DIY. I would recommend that is not something you want to DIY, because you're talking about something. If you spend $5,000, you can make $1 million. That's kind of how it works, right? You spend 10,000, you make 100 million. Like, do you think you think you're going to care about that in a couple? No, you're not. You're not, because you weren't using those assets to begin with. So after you do that, the second thing is packaging what you want to license, right? And who you want to license it to. Do you want to license it to creators? Do you want to license it to the government? Do you want to license it to schools, right? We know e-learning is growing, and I believe that course creators are the future of e-learning. Think about it. If you're going to school for marketing, they're going to be looking for people who know how to run Facebook ads. They're going to be looking for course creators who know how to do Google ads. They're going to be looking for people who know how to build a brand. And the students are going to start to demand to have practical application for their business needs. And what I want to do is create it to where you can have that opportunity when it arises. Because if somebody's handing you $1 million check, right, every year, you best believe that curriculum has to be tight. So, right, that's the second thing you have to do. You have to make sure your packaging is tight. You have to make sure you understand what you're offering, right, and what they get in return. So you have to come up with a model of what you. And when I say you, I mean your team. You really should licensing, right? I was like, you really should not be doing licensing without an IP attorney, because it's not the same as trademark. It's not as simple as like, I'm going to file an application. There's literally 13 different ways right off the top of my head that you can license something, right? So for me, if a client comes in and like, I want to license, I'm going to find out what's your goal, right? Is your goal to do it by head? Is your goal to have 3 years? Is your goal just to like you can change your entire business model, where you don't even have to sell any courses. You're just like, I'm just going to license it because I just have the name to go, right? It's a completely different business.
Wow. All from just licensing.
Yeah.
That's passive income.
Yeah.
It really is untapped because nobody is teaching it. Nobody is talking about it. I see for our influencers or those that want to be influencers, this could be huge. Y'all, if y'all think somebody might learn something from this monetizing a brand, please share it. Because people know that marketing is, the sale is 80% marketing and, basically 20% you. But what if you don't have to do anything but market and then resell? And after you've built the people or you built the platform, it works for you. It works for you. It works for you. That's phenomenal. And y'all heard what she said. You need a team, right? I'm big on that dream team. Yeah. In this case, it sounds like you need several attorneys, but I'm big on the dream team. And you can't do this $1 million stuff. You can't do it by yourself. She literally said you can invest 5 or 10 and tap into the millions. Like,
you can tap in. Like, imagine starting your year and you get $1 million. Like, imagine starting your year and you get $60,000 because of your license. Oh, you ring it. But even for my coaches, right? If you're a coach, you can create a certification program, right? Where when people come through, that's what we see with John Maxwell, right? He's licensing his program. He's created these coaches off of a reputable brand that's going to last beyond him. That's all licensing.
So coaches can do it too. Yeah, course creators, man.
Anybody can do it. So anybody can do it. It's about being strategic and understanding how to utilize it, right? So if you're on YouTube, let's talk about the YouTubers, right? Say you have a YouTube. Let's talk about legacy in YouTube. Say you have a YouTube, right? Your YouTube is doing well. And God forbid something happens to you. What happens to your YouTube? What happens to all the intellectual property, right? You monetize your YouTube. We all know that when people die or something happens, everything they do goes up in value. YouTube doesn't shut your channel down. Where did that money go? Where'd that money go? Someone who does something that I really liked, Pastor Miles Morales. Is it Monroe? Monroe. He did something really, really cool. It's called a digital vault. It's where you create content. It's what I call it. I call it a digital vault. It's where you create content and you create an estate plan that allows you to continue to release content even after your death. So the legacy of your business continues, right? The branding of your business continues even in your passing. We see this often with something like Tupac or Biggie, right? They're releasing this uncut content, this content that was never released, right? But they didn't plan that. And they're monetizing millions and millions and millions of streams. Imagine if you did that on purpose, right? Wow. Imagine if you did that on purpose.
Wow.
And your kids and your kids and your kids can eat off of that forever.
So what happens when you don't do it? Y'all leaving bags on the table. What happens when you don't do it? Because everybody's in. Okay, so e-commerce, right, is the way of the future, pretty much. So we all in some kind of sphere are online. We all are online. So what happens if we don't legacy plan, basically? What happens to that money? Or can our kids fight for it? Can they pull it down? Like, what's that like?
Well, you know, I'm an attorney, so you can fight for anything you want. It's America, okay? All right, you can fight for whatever you want. Wait, let's just get down to where right now. Yeah, I mean, absolutely, you can fight for it, but why would you want to put your family through that? Like, can you like, what do they say? Wendy's family's still fighting. Like, there's people who are still fighting because their loved ones are dead, and they're fighting over money. And they're fighting over IP, and they're fighting over who has the right, because it's not just about, right? It's not just about where the content is. It's who has the right to decide, right? I come from a family, there's 9 of us. My parents had 7. We're like stair steps. So we're 23 to 30. If my parents don't do any estate planning, right? The state says that it passes down to who? The children, right? Like if both of them die, it could pass down to children. They got 1 house. It's 7 of us. Okay. That is what you call a travesty. All right. So I want to sell the house. No, I want to keep the house. No, I want to sell the house. I want my cut. I'm not paying attention. Who takes it? You're talking about chaos, right? So we could do all that. They could have spent their whole life building that for us, leaving that nest egg, hoping that we'll be able to go farther than them, when really they've created a bill, right? They've created a bill. And if the money is not claimed, it's just going to sit there. The bank don't care to get interest, right? If you say you have your YouTube set up, because the digital vault doesn't just apply to IP, right? The digital vault, if you're a business owner, you're doing business in the DMs, right? If something would happen to you and you're out of commission, do you have a power of attorney in place to be able to log into Facebook, right? To be able to log into their Twitter, into their Instagram, to get their information, to be able to say, hey, I'm interacting with their clients. Does anyone have access to your emails? That they may have access to your business accounts? If you're a single member LLC, probably not, right? Probably not. So now I got to go to the SOS, right? The Secretary of State. I got to go fight to get into your business account that probably the business got dissolved upon your death because you don't have an operating agreement in place and you don't have no succession plan in place of what happens when you're out of commission. So now the LLC is dissolved. The creditors are like, where's my money, right? It's a mess. So the legacy you spent 40 years building, it just goes like this. That's what happens. That's what happens. And that's why people say small business owners, they're like, oh, it's a way to leave legacy. It's a way to leave, wealth. But they're not. What you're leaving is cash. That's not the same thing.
No.
It's not the same thing.
No.
It's not the same thing. So you could create trust. You can create different things that can feed your family. Because the other thing is, if you're just leaving cash, right? There's nowhere for that to grow. There's a huge tax bill at the end of that, right? There's a whole processing. Probate court is not fun, right? If your kids or people are spread out, and then you have to hope that the person you actually want to have the property gets it.
Yeah.
And does right by it. So that is not something we like to think about. But I think COVID is very sobering about how quickly life can go.
Yeah.
Right. It's very sobering. And if you are, I was speaking to a young lady, she had a YouTube, she was like streaming music, they're on 3 platforms. I'm talking millions and millions of views, and nothing's in place. Like your kids are on the YouTube, right? Like say you have a YouTube with your kids. They can't have access to that money. They're minors. So if you don't set up a trust, you have to hope that the guardian that they have does right by them. And I think we have seen time and time in history that people do not do right by that, right? If those kids grow up at 18, they could have made $1 million+ on that YouTube channel and not see a dime of it.
Y'all, I'm trying to bring y'all to Everyday Muggles so we can do better than our parents did. And so we really can have the millionaire experience. This is... It's mind-blowing. It really is mind-blowing. You think you got it, right? Mm-hmm. And then COVID showed you really that you ain't really have it. But COVID like poked holes. And this is one of those things like you got to think beyond the 5-year plan. It's like when I was younger, my grandma raised me and I never wanted to talk about her will or her life insurance. Like this is one of those things, but this is adulting 105, I guess. It's a little bit more.
Yeah.
Miss Baker said, how do we set up trust? That I do not do trust accounting, so let's facts. Trust accounting is so different than normal accounting. And yes, I am a CPA, but I do touch trust. Okay. So I don't know. I don't ask the attorney. I have no idea.
A trust is going to be based off of what you're trying to accomplish. That is a fact-based question. So you would want to contact an attorney. Like we do trust and estate and wealth management planning. The ideal of doing digital planning is not new, but it's new to us, if that makes sense. So being strategic with your planner, updating the information. I don't know if you guys watch Power, but the spinoff talks about trust, right? The son has to go to school in order to get some of the money from the trust. Like that's how he had set up his wealth. And you can do the same thing as well. Like I said, a trust is based off of what you're trying to accomplish. You can create conditions for it. You can create it to where it can only come out at a certain time. I mean, back in the day, they might be like, oh, you can't get it unless you're married, or, you can create a lot of conditions depending on how you set it up and who you set it up for a trustee. So it's really about what you're trying to accomplish. And a good attorney, the beauty of having a good attorney is like, you tell me what you want and we figure out how to get it done. That's how the rich do it. They're like, this is what I want. And the attorney goes, okay, let me figure out how to get this done for you.
Yeah, dream team. That's part of that dream team. I told y'all
Mhm.
when they go, I'm sure she got to do continuing education like I do. And when we pick these
Mhm.
courses that we go to, we got the people who pay us in
Mhm.
mind. I'm
Mhm.
going there because I want to protect my clients. London, I'm just like you. I'm over here like Swiss cheese. For real, for real. She said all these hoes got me feeling like Swiss cheese. I'm over here with you, huh? I'm over here with
No, don't feel overwhelmed. You're fine. You're good. Like I think people get overwhelmed, and that's not the point. I think that you shouldn't, if you're at that level, right? Where I believe everyone has assets. It's just a matter of whether or not you value it. And so if you're at that point, you're like, I do value my assets, then you don't have to figure out how to do all these things by yourself. I think that's the mistake we make, right? You have to operate in your expertise. You have to operate in your zone. So when you come to, or when you're picking an attorney, and I see this a lot with business owners, they're like, well, how do I know I have a good attorney? Do you trust them? Do you get along with them? Right? Those are key attributes. Like they're probably going to know what they're doing, but if you don't trust your attorney, then you're not going to be able to really share with them your desires of your heart. So they can't really serve you, right, the way that you need to be served. They can't really help you the way you need to be helped, because you have to be able to trust who you're talking to on the other end of that phone or Zoom, right? Because it is COVID, that they're going to really have your best interest at heart, and that they're going to be able to strategize for long-term success for your business.
So when would you say we should do digital planning? Because myself, I heard that in, I guess you'd call my consultation with my attorney. Never had heard it before. And I was like, oh, that's when I learned more about this copywriting thing for classes I ain't know nothing about. Y'all be throwing us under the bus because I thought I was a builder and I'm out here hustling, selling stuff that I hadn't gotten secured yet. But
Yeah.
I learned. I'm better now. I learned.
No, it's understandable, right? We learn and we grow. I think digital planning is an ongoing journey, right? Because the thing about intellectual property is it's not like a house, right? Like maybe you'll buy a house here and there as you grow, but you're going to keep producing, right? You're going to keep creating content. And honestly, your brand and what you produce a lot of times becomes more valuable the more content you produce, right? At the higher value. So it's an ongoing process. I I talk about this on Twitter. I'm like, y'all, you planning these launches and you're not talking to your intellectual property attorney.
I was
Why?
just going to ask you. So,
Why do you do this to us?
I learned the hard way that, like I said, I'm all about the dream team, and I learned the hard way that when you're launching this courses and all this stuff, that not your accountant first, and I help you with the bags, but you actually need to talk to your attorney before me. I'm still part of the plan, but I'm not first when it comes to this, and I learned that the hard way because you got all this content that people can steal from you, even some of your free content, and I had no idea. Like,
Absolutely.
I didn't
I mean,
know.
even something as simple as making a book, right? So even if you copyright your book, copyrighting your book is not the same thing as copyrighting your book cover. So if the original work on your book is not original art, you can't copyright it, right? So if you take gifts and different things from other people, you cannot copyright that. So then if someone copies your art because you have this, innovative way of how you're going about doing it, because you did not have personal art that's like new, you're not able to pursue them in that same capacity because technically you don't own those images, right? So that's something very simplistic that can cost you a lot of money down the line, because now you're trying to pay for a rebranding after you done printed 100 books, right? But if you just got on the phone, I would have told you, sis, okay, if you go into Canva and you do this, I can't do nothing for you. So when you call me in 3 months because your book is popping, and somebody on Instagram was like, you know what, that cover is popping, let me go ahead and grab that and try to monetize off her brand because she's popping, I'm gonna be like, yeah, we can send them a cease and desist, but our options are limited, right? You are taking away the tools that we would need to move forward, and you're making my job so much harder, and I don't like it, and I gotta charge more if I do it that way. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, it costs more when we have to be reactive. Just so y'all know, like same thing go with tax planning, wealth creation, wealth building. Listen, if you get yourself in a squirrely foxhole, it costs a little bit more, and sometimes a lot more, depending on how
A lot
strong
more.
you got yourself. It costs to be proactive.
Proactive.
Reactive. So it's much easier to be proactive. I'm learning a lot. I hope that you guys take everything that you learn here through my journey to there. I started this because I had millionaire clients, and I was like, whoa, I haven't made $1 million yet. What am I doing wrong, right?
Doesn't mean anything, right? Doesn't mean anything. You're fine. You're fine.
I thought, I'm learning from them, and I preach dream team, and this is part of your dream team. This is why you need an attorney. I never heard about monetizing your brand. I know what trusts are. I'm well versed in that, but for me, I never thought about it. And when you at this level, when you're growing, it is something you need to think about long term, right? And so don't be overwhelmed, y'all. Embrace what we did not know. Thank COVID for it, because it could be 5 years from now and we're at the million and somebody suing us or backdoor us and trademark our thing, trying to get it back, like we've seen later. Recently, that are trying to get their brands and all of that stuff. Somebody, Miss Brenda, how do you protect yourself if you're working with someone as a content creator and you think of something for their business but don't want to give away the ideas?
She said, no, it's mine.
So we're thinking about making money, so I get it. That's a perfect idea. It's a perfect question.
So I'm really glad she actually mentioned that, because the key to ownership is contracts. Like that's honestly, that's because whoever creates it owns it. Okay. Absent an agreement that is signed and says otherwise, period. That's what the law says. So if you're working for a company and someone has contracted you as an independent contractor, then you are called what is a work for hire. So anything you create in conjunction with their business is owned by their business. So if you create something for them and you have an independent contractor agreement with them, then they own it. If you don't, then you own it. However, right, let's just talk about strategically business. That's not a good business model, right? You don't want to be known as a person who people contract, but you take their work and go somewhere else with it. Nobody really wants to work with somebody who's doing that. Like if I hire a graphic designer, right, and then I pop around and you just shoot my logo to everybody, I'm going to be upset, right? Yeah. And I'm going to tell people, like, don't work with them. They don't produce good content. And if you arguing with me in the DM talking about, well, it's mine anyway, and like nobody wants to, no, like that's not a good business model. So if you have an idea and you think it's a good idea, you want to implement in your business, by all means, go forward. But I don't think you're going to be in a good position to negotiate, right, the implications of an ideal that you're already a content creator for. They're paying you for that content, right? Like that is your job. That's why they brought you in. So yes, they absolutely expect you to share that information because that is what we're paying you for. It's like if you're at Chick-fil-A and you're trying to make a chicken sandwich and you're like, you know what I want to do? I want to make fries, but I want to share this. They're gonna be like, we pay you to make fries, ma'am. That's what we pay you to do. So you're not doing us any favors. And I'm not being rude, but it's like, I understand if you're creating content and you're being a creative and someone hires you to be creative, you can't be stingy about the creativity. Like that is what they hired you for. If you feel some type of way about it, right? If you're like, this is amazing, charge more. Charge more. That's not like if you want to keep all your content and you're a content creator, charge more, because keeping the content is not a good business model. I know I speak to a lot of content creators and they are like obsessed with keeping their content, but that's your business model. Your business model is literally to create for other people. If someone comes to me and they refuse to let me own my stuff, I'm not working with them. Because why would I pay you and then let you walk away with my stuff?
Yeah, it doesn't mean no good.
It doesn't do me any good. So if you have an ideal, you think it's a great ideal, then keep it for yourself, right? But anything you give to someone that you're independent content, you're building your brand as a content creator, right? So if you think about it this way, that ideal monetizes your brand further because they're going to be like, man, such and such, she comes up with such great ideals. She knows how to take your brand to the next level. The content she creates is out of this world. That brings you more money, right, than holding on to something because you're trying to build your business. So that's just like strategically, yes, like everyone's like, own it, own it, own it, own it, own it. But does that strategically make sense for your business model? No, I wouldn't say it does.
That makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Do anybody else got any questions for Miss Jess? She just dropped a bomb on us. She just dropped a bomb. Anybody else got any questions? Who is that? Yes, Miss London, you need an operation agreement. So important. If you got when you file, if you guys do it right and take yourself off of legal Zoom and all that other nonsense and go right. I do not do business entity. I don't practice law on TV or in my bathroom or any of that stuff. I don't do that, right? So I stay in my lane. But if you go to an attorney, they're going to create one for you because you're supposed to have it.
You're supposed to have. Well, a lot of people make their LLCs without it.
I know. But I'm in Tennessee, and you're supposed to file it with the state. I don't know how. I see it all the time, but I think maybe that is something that, the digital world format thingy thing, that they file it without all the extra documents, or maybe most people don't know. But it's so great to have an attorney to do all things correctly.
Yeah. Operating agreements are like not used often, especially with single member LLCs. They don't see the need for them. And a lot of times it's not required in the state to have them because they're considered internal documents. So yeah, they're not often used. If you're working with someone or you have a co-ownership or a partnership, if you open a business with somebody else and you don't have a partnership agreement, you're setting yourself up for a bad situation.
On both sides, on the money side too, because that means debt and profit is
and the partnership agreement. Exactly. And you don't want the state, if you don't create that means the state decides how your business is run. And in Delaware, right, if you don't have an operating agreement in place and there are two people who own an LLC, I can just dissolve it without you having any permission. I can just dissolve the company. Don't need your permission, even though you're a co-owner. Just dissolve it.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Take it right up under the rug. And a lot of stuff happens like that. You guys have a non-professional disagreement, right? And somebody just walks away and you don't have any recourse because you don't have your agreements or your contracts in play. You just left pretty much holding the bag. And when it comes to the tax portion, the state and the IRS are going after both or one, whoever they choose, if there's no agreement in place.
Yeah, and creditors don't care. Like if you owe money, if you say you have a lease, right, and you owe money and the business is dissolving, like how do you decide who pays that, right? How do you decide how that's divided? Oftentimes, if there's a separation, it's not amicable. And you're going to pay a lot of money to an attorney to try to negotiate it. I tell clients, I'm like, listen, templates, I get it, but templates do not reflect your actual business. They reflect ideas, right? They don't reflect your actual business, and they don't adjust with the times. So if your business grows, if things shift, if they change, that template is not going to tell you, hey, boo, you need to update this because things have changed. You've added another member. You have shareholders. You have people who've invested in the business in this capacity. You need to adjust the voting rights, right? There are things that happen all the time. And I have witnessed partnerships just dissolve and it become very messy because now the partner is taking half the clients, right? Or a partner dies and there's nothing in place that says that the other partner has first rights to buy them out. Right now, you in partnership with somebody. You're like, I didn't want to get in partnership with his wife or their husband. I'm in partnership with her or him. But if they die, it automatically goes to them. So now you're in partnership with somebody you don't even want to be in partnership with. Like these are things that just happen all the time. And it's really simple as just creating an agreement It's really that simple. It's just really that simple of creating an agreement and talking to somebody who can help you get to that point. So, especially for my partners out there, like really, really, if you have a partnership, like I would really urge you to contact an attorney. Like we do them all the time. It's not a problem, to make sure you have something that really reflects your business.
That's good. So, as a business owner, what would you recommend? How often would you recommend a business owner starting to see their attorneys? I know a lot of people they think of attorneys super expensive, right? Changing that mindset is not an expense, it's an investment. How often should we invest in our attorney? Should we see them once a year? Is it something, quarterly? Where should we be on your appointment calendar?
Yeah, so I usually base it off the needs of the client, right? So if you are like, okay, so for someone like you, right, you're having a really busy, you're going to have a very busy season, right? You're going to have a lot going on, things moving. So like a great time would have been for us to talk would be, maybe last quarter, right? Right before you get into your new quarter. So we would have went over your contracts, like anybody you were planning on onboarding, if you were working with independent contractors, if you had planned on running ads or updating your website, terms and conditions, privacy policies, any updates in regards to serving your clientele, any disclosures that you would have had to made. I'm sure you did your due diligence as well, but that would have been a perfect time to do a check-in, right? So I most likely would be like, okay. And then I would be like, okay, let's check in again around maybe February, March. If you have planned on doing a launch or a course or a book or something like that, let's check in again, right? So it's about keeping your attorney informed. It's about keeping us informed. So if you have a launch in February, yeah, we're going to be talking a lot more, right? But if you're like, okay, I did my launch, now I'm doing my course and I'm doing this, I'm doing that, then I might be like, okay, let's check in about a month or two. We have your trademark pending. We have your contract pending. Let's update this. Let's update that. And so that's really how I like to shape it, right? Like I create models to where you can purchase hours and you just utilize your hours however you see fit for your business. So you're able to have somebody on call and be like, hey, I just need to run this by somebody. Hey, I'm negotiating a contract with a vendor. I need someone to check it out. Things like that. I think being able to have that type of energy would be able to. So when I work with clients, I like to say, this is the phases that we're working in. This is the strategies we're going to implement. And let's break it down to small bite-sized pieces. I'm not going to be like, hit you with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like, and it's like, you're just going. Like, no, you're going to be like, I don't even want to call her. Every time I talk to her, she's giving me homework. Like, you're not, you're going to be like, I'm my attorney. You know what I'm saying? So it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. On just a basic note, I would say on average, you should talk to your attorney at least once a quarter. It should be at the top of your quarter. You'd be like, okay, I'm going to check in with my CPA. I'm going to check in with my bookkeeping. Let's look at our profits. Let's look at our margins. Let's talk to my attorney, because the thing is, oftentimes you're not considering blind spots because it's not really your job to, right? It's not really your job. So sometimes there's blind spots in what you're implementing. You could be like, oh, I'm doing a YouTube channel, right? And I'm going to be bringing people on and interviewing them. And I'll be like, okay, that's great. Make sure let's go ahead and get you a photo release and your video release form. You'd be like, huh, okay, yeah, right. So for all your guests,
y'all, did she?
So for all your guests, you have an image release.
Did y'all see that? Did anybody catch that? The attorneys be so slick with it. Y'all, I'm
just saying, right? So they can't come back and be like, I don't want you using my interview. I didn't give you permission to use my interview. I don't want you advertising on your website, right? And you're like, okay, well, that's nice. We already got your release. God bless you. God bless you. Right? Like, it's just, you go move different. And that's not something you should have to think about, right? Like, I'm going to be like, hey, these are the updates to YouTube's terms and conditions. These are the new laws for FTC. These are the things you have to consider if you're catering to children, right? Why would you know that legislation, right? Like, why would you know that they updated different privacy policies and different trademark with the new law that they came out with the COVID, right? There was like trademark stuff built into that, copyright stuff built into that. Right? Why would you know that? It's not your job. It's my job. So you have to let your attorney do their job. Tell them what you're doing. Let them give you feedback, and then kind of go from there.
Listen, your dream team. This is the way you make $1 million. You see how these attorneys be undercutting me? That was like,
I was not even thinking about you.
yeah,
Like, oh, I feel attacked. No. I'm just saying, if you monetize stuff, you just want to make sure it's in writing. That's really the key, right? If you're monetizing something and you're using someone else's image, if you're using someone else's property, you want it in writing, right? Because what was happening was, let me tell you something. What was happening was, I had a client and they had a YouTube channel, or I was in Clubhouse as well. And let me use that because that's more public. So he had a YouTube and he was interviewing people and he's like, I don't understand. I keep getting copyright marks. I keep getting copyright infringement, right? So the people were interviewing and then striking his video as utilizing their copyright and their intellectual property, right? Because they're saying they own it. And so he was getting strikes and demonetization on his you. Come on, this is the type of stuff I'm talking about, y'all. But if he comes back and he's like, I have a release to use this, like I have a license to use, I have a release to use this, you're going to avoid these type of problems, right? And it also gives notice to the other party that you're not to be messed with, right? If I come with you a release from, you're not about to come back to me talking about some, that podcast I did with you 3 years ago. I see, you monetized it. I would like to share those profits. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. They can't get a piece of your pie.
No, get out of here. No, ma'am. We have it released on file. No, ma'am.
My bad. Call my attorney.
Call me. I got it. They're like, I'll refer you to her. No problem. Hello, ma'am. On November 6th, we have that you did sign this. Is this your signature? This is my signature. That is correct. Okay. That's the end of the discussion. What are we conversating about? You released it. It's done. Like, people be mad at big industries, right? Like Haley and different things, but you can utilize those same methods. That is not capitalism. That is not being greedy. That is not corporation mindset. That is how you build your business. Y'all are mad at these big companies, but you can utilize these same strategies. You have access to the same tools that they do to build their business in the same way. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing because people will try you.
They will. That's a good thing. Y'all, did she drop the fire? I'm so sorry that I'm bringing these kind of people that like over here ripping our little businesses to.
No, you're doing amazing.
You with the receipt, huh? And she with the receipt. Yeah, call my attorney. Yeah, with the receipt. Listen, I'm sorry. This is how they do it in the professional world. I'm just like a little peon when it comes to them. They good at what they do. This is why you work with an attorney. This is why you have to have a banker. This is why, because those holes or brown blind spots, like Miss Jessica said, you're not looking for them. You don't think about it. You're just trying to make the next dollar or, build that wealth strategy, right? And you looking forward and all these things around you that you can see or you don't even know to be looking for, right? Mm-hmm. You don't even be looking for. I'm sure that I have, because I have a packet of stuff that I'm supposed to give people from the Millionaire Monday that I got from my attorney. Oh, so yeah.
Implementation is very important, people. You don't pay for the work and it's like, oh man, that's crazy. And your attorney's gonna be looking at you like, so
yeah, but it's one of those things that you have to learn to prioritize, right, and do everything in decent and order. And so those are things I could actually give, my office manager or one of my bookkeepers to take care of because I forgot. But of course, she's so right. It's just one of those things, like when you're building a business, you need teams, you need partners, people that's looking out for your best interest, guys. Like, I'm on YouTube. Don't follow me over there because I ain't on there much, but I am on YouTube. And to think, yeah, you only need like 1,000 subscribers or 1,000 views to try to monetize that. And it don't take long to go viral. And what if you weren't ready? What if you don't have this stuff? Like, I mean, get in with your attorney ASAP, y'all. The world is changing and don't get left behind. She literally taught us about money being left on the table. I had no idea of this idea that you can, you know, monetize your brand. And we see it every day. We literally see it every day. I've been to the Coca-Cola factory, I don't know how many times. I think we bought t-shirts and some other random stuff. Um, with the little stupid polar bear that I don't even think I knew that that was their mascot logo, whatever, until I went to the Coca-Cola factory. Y'all been to Disney World and all these other little fun parks?
The toys
Let's
at
do it.
McDonald's. That's all licensing.
Yeah. So
That's
let's
all
make
licensing.
money like the big people. Let's make money like the big people. If don't nobody else have any questions for Miss Jessica, we gonna get out of here because I do have a 2 o'clock appointment today. Y'all been working me like crazy, but I thank God that you guys joined me again for this double header. I hope you guys learned something. Any
Yeah,
questions?
thank you for having me.
It was wonderful. Listen, since I started this, I have met some amazing people. You know, I started with my clients and myself, and I branched out to other, creators and professionals that I think is so pivotal to business owners that because we live in a DIY society, they have forgotten or neglected.
Mm-hmm.
As just be facts, as a minority owned business, like I see it so much more on this side where
Mm-hmm.
the money is I can't afford it instead of saying I have to or I can't afford not to have it. Like we
Right.
think DIY, everything. I seen maybe a year ago, a girl was upset because somebody sent her a cease and
A
desist
cease
letter.
and desist. Mm-hmm.
Right. About using her name as like some kind of cleaning business from somebody all the way in Canada.
Well,
In Canada. And she had been building that business for the last 10 years. And she
well.
said she went and talked to an attorney and they said they can fight it, but it looks valid. And the girl had whoever sent the DC, so blah blah blah,
Mm-hmm.
had only had it 3 or 4 years, not as long as the girl had been in business. And so she
Right.
had herself where she was getting ready to like franchise, and it stopped her from opening up another location. And it was 100% because we don't know. We hustle our way through the door and we never stop for a second and kind of work our way back and get those key people that we need. And
That's devastating. I'm so sorry to hear that.
yeah,
That stuff be breaking my heart. I'd be like, man. And then right, you could fight it. Right? You could fight it. But you have to weigh like peace, stress, money. You're talking about thousands upon thousands of dollars. So yeah. I mean, if I could leave anything with anybody, is don't let this conversation stop you from moving forward. I think a lot of times when I have these type of conversations, it discourages people from moving. That's not the takeaway. That's not the takeaway. That's not the takeaway at all. Okay. The takeaway is what you have is valuable and what you are producing can last for a long time. Just when you're building and you're deciding to make decisions, right? Maybe your marketing budget is $2,000. Maybe your marketing budget is $3,000. I don't know. But if you don't have a legal budget, right? Because people you throw a lot of money into marketing because that's what you're like, that's where my money is, right? That's where all my money is. I have to do it. And people are scared of taxes. So they'll throw money at taxes because they don't want to deal with it. But when you're thinking about the 3 people that you want to invest in, right? Your bookkeeper / CPA, right? For your taxes, your marketing, for your business and brand, and your legal. Those are your 3. Those are your 3. Because you can be running anything, and I trust you. Whatever you're doing, you're going to need those 3 people. And so even if you're like, I can't afford the services now, you actually don't even know because you haven't actually talked to an attorney. There's a lot of small business attorneys out there, Black women attorneys, Black male attorneys who work in our community, and we're very affordable. We're very affordable. We offer payment plans. We work with our clients. We say, hey, when you come back in like 6 months, you can save up for it. So I always see people it's all about how you value what you're creating. I'm not trying to scare nobody. That's not what this is. That's not what this is. I'm not trying to scare nobody. And I think that's really important to say, right? If you're ready to trademark your brand, then you're ready to have an LLC, right? These are the type of contracts. If you're trademarking your brand, you're ready to have contracts in your business. If you're like, I'm making a book and I'm copywriting, that means you're ready to have some conversations about brand strategy. So don't feel overwhelmed. Don't feel overwhelmed and don't freeze. That's not the takeaway. So I always like to just include that at the end, because I often get messages like, what am I supposed to do? I'm just starting. I just started 6 weeks ago. Well, sis, I mean, if you started 6 weeks ago, no, you don't have the budget to probably work with me, but I offer discovery calls for $75. So go ahead and hop on there and I'll talk to you for $75 and we can map out something for you to do with it to do until you get to that point. Right. But what you can't afford to do is not know. And there's an ease that comes. Like, you can Google, right? But if I come and talk to you, Nidra, you're going to be like, this is what needs to happen. I'll be like, oh, thank God. Like, I read 5 articles, but you're the expert. So I feel better now because I know that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So that's really what I would say.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And it's the beginning of the year, right? And so you guys, if you hadn't mapped out your 2021 plan, do so. Use all of this content and do so. Check it off. Okay, I need to talk to an accountant, even if it's just a consultation. I get it. I need to talk to an attorney. I need to talk to a mentor or marketing strategist. These key people, talk to them. You know that whatever that initial fee is not going to punch you over the head.
It's not.
When it's time to make the major investment, best believe you got it because you worked to this point to have it. You got it. Stop telling yourself that you don't have it. You got it and you can't afford not to. That's why we talked about that this morning. So many people last year were left out of all of this extra money because they have been telling themselves for years, I don't need it. I don't need it. And you've been hustling and now you find out, a little bit important, huh? A little bit important. And so do it now. Do it now. Where can they connect with you, Miss Jessica? Where can they connect with you? Just remind the people.
You can find me at JBull Consulting on Instagram and Twitter. I'll be tweeting about, and on Facebook as well. My name is Jessica Bull across all platforms. And if anyone's doing any quarterly planning, I did create a Q1 quarter planning for people, and it's free. You can find the link in my bio on Instagram or Facebook, or you can DM me and I'll be happy to send you the link, because quarterly planning should not feel overwhelming, but it needs to be done.
It's a must, y'all. It's a must. Write the vision and make it plain. It's a must. Okay, as always, thank you guys so much for honoring with my time. Honor me with your time. I want to thank you, Ms. Jess, for coming over and blowing the scene up. Listen, we love you so much. You guys, I want you guys to be empowered and be impactful in the world around us, right? So use the information, share the information, reach out to Ms. Jessica. Get in her DMs, get on her email list, whatever, what have you. And let's build the businesses that we want to sustain and be profitable for a legacy time, not a lifetime, but for a legacy time. We want our kids.
Absolutely.
So what are we doing right now? Until next Monday, I will see you guys later.
Bye, everybody.